Hello peoples, back at it again with another shitty but better than nothing WoW guide. This time focusing on the Blood Decay. First of all, going based on stat priority. Haste is always best for us, lets us get out more runes, which lets us hit more, build more runic power, and heal ourselves more, because Deathstrike in Legion, it now costs runic power, which is a shame, but that's the way it is. Versatility is second, just increases our damage done and decreases how much damage we take. Crit, which is just damage, and it also increases our parry chance, which is defensive. And then Mastery is last. In the previous expansion, Mastery was awesome, because we got a huge shield every time we death striked, and obviously it increases your attack power as well. We were really high damage tanks, and we got really huge shields because we got really huge death strikes. But unfortunately in Legion, our death strikes have been kind of neutered. They don't really heal for anywhere near as much as they used to, and you're not going to be using them as much now that they cost 45 runic power. So Mastery has kind of fallen from grace, so now you're just going Haste, Versatility, Crit, Mastery. And that's for the balanced build, by the way. And that's what I recommend that you play. Now, there is a more DPS-oriented build, which is the same stat priority, except Crit is higher than Versatility, so Haste, Crit, Versatility, Mastery. Just to give you that little bit of extra damage with the extra Crit. It's really only useful on bosses where you know you have no chance of dying, and you just want to help your DPS reach that, damage race before the boss enrages and kills everybody if it's getting a little tight. Or if you just know you're not going to die, you might as well do more damage. There is another build that is more survivability orientated, which is just to replace Mastery and Crit, so Haste, Versatility, Mastery, and then Crit last, just to try to make sure you can get as big a shields as possible from your Mastery, but it's really not that great, honestly, and you only want to use that on a fight where you know that you're in serious danger of dying, which in Legion I feel like tanks are doing pretty well right now. Even Blood Decay and Raid's doing alright depending on what level of content you're doing. So I would just take the balanced build. Works in every situation. It's what I use, it's what I prefer. Moving on to talents. Bloodworms is sadly poop, so no one's going to be taking that. Heartbreaker and Blood Drinker are both excellent talents, and you can kind of pick and choose whichever one you want for whatever situation you're in. Heartbreaker just makes it so that you generate more runic power, especially in AoE fights, because you're generating more per target hit with Heart Strike. Obviously, if you're death striking a lot because you're taking a lot of damage, more runic power generation is just more survivability, so that's always nice. And you can use it in single target too if you just want something passive that you don't have to worry about. It is totally viable. Blood Drinker is nice. It's just a 1 rune, 30-second cooldown, does a lot of damage and drains a lot of health. Also, for me personally, I find that when combined with Vampiric Blood, it heals for a lot. It can really save your life, but we'll get more to the cooldowns in a minute. In the 57 row, Rapid Decomposition just gives you more runic power while you're standing in your Death and Decay and makes it do more damage. Soul Gorge it's honestly not very good. Nobody really takes it. Spectral Deflection is a talent that's very situational and niche, but in those niche situations it's pretty good. It just makes it so that any attack that deals more than 25% of your maximum health will consume another charge of Bone Charge, further reducing that damage. So you just take a little bit less damage from bosses that hit really fucking hard. But it is a little niche. Rapid Decomposition is good always. It's probably your better go-to talent. 58 talent row. Ossuary, another situation where it's just an amazing go-to talent that you should probably go with. As long as you have at least 5 Bone Shield charges, the cost of Death Strike is reduced by 5 runic power, and additionally increases your maximum runic power by 10. So you're getting out more Death Strikes, which is the majority of our survivability, and you have more runic power, so you can build more for times you're going to be taking burst damage, yada yada. It's just a good talent. Blood Tap is sadly not as good as it used to be. It's a shame. An Anti-Magic Barrier is also kind of meh. It's not bad, but I think Ossuary is just better overall survivability. That's why everybody takes it. In the 60 talent tree, Mark of Blood is also kind of niche. It has potential. It's really good if you're a geared tank and you have like a new off tank coming in that's not very well geared. You can kind of help them stay alive, but it doesn't really help you much. So if you're going to be a selfish douche like me, just take Red Thirst. Spending runic power will decrease the remaining cooldown of Vampiric Blood, which is amazing, because Vampiric Blood is pretty much our only main defensive cooldown that can just wreck house. It's so powerful. Of course, now you always have your Icebound Fortitude and your Anti-Magic Shell, which are great defensives, but Vampiric Blood is so good. Increases maximum health by a crap ton, makes you heal so much. It's so amazing. Dancing Rune Weapon is, for me, more of an offensive cooldown than a defensive cooldown. Obviously, it increases your parry by 40%, which is great. But I pop it on pole, but we'll get to that in a minute. Tombstone is just not great. Nobody really takes it. 75 Talent Tree is situational. Tremble Before Me is garbage. I wouldn't even bother with it. In Mythic Plus it might have a potential use, but in raiding it's terrible. Tightening Grasp just decreases the cooldown of your Gorfine's Grasp, which is awesome. Lets you get in those big, create those big-ass death balls for your DPS to get some sweet-ass deep, AoE deeps. So it's awesome, but only if you're doing AoE fights. If it's a single-target fight, Tightening Grasp doesn't really come into use. Otherwise, March of the Damned is the only other thing you might want to use. It just makes it last longer, break stun, root, all effects, things like that. So it's just a mobility increase for the most part. If you're fighting a single target boss with no adds, just switch to March of the Damned. If you're fighting with any adds, you want to get grouped up, Tightening Grasp is usually better. In the 90 Talent Tree, Will of Necropolis is meh. It's alright. Honestly, it just pales in comparison to Foul Bulwark. We'll get to that in a second. Rune Tap is nice. It's a really nice cooldown if you can make full effect of it, if you can use it properly, because it only gives you the damage reduction for 3 seconds. And make sure you're only popping it right before you take damage. It can be really useful, but I still think that Foul Bulwark is going to be your go-to just default cooldown. It's too default talent. It's too good. Each charge of Bone Shield increases your maximum health by 2%. So your health pool is ginormous as long as you're keeping 10 stacks of Bone Shield, which kind of should be your goal, but we'll get to that more in a minute. In the 100 Talent Tree, it's really up to you, honestly. Purgatory is just a passive, if you die, healers can save you from dying, extra life kind of thing, which is awesome. But the other two are also nice. Blood Mirror is honestly just kind of a DPS increase, which, once again, if you're going for more of a DPS increase build, because, you have no real danger of dying, but you need to help your DPS meet those DPS checks, Blood Mirror is great. Bone Storm, same thing. It's probably great for Mythic Plus. Just lets you get out some AoE damage and can heal you a bit in big AoE packs. But standard, I would say, is Purgatory. Just a nice passive. Gives you that extra chance at life. Now that we've gone over that stuff, let's get into the rotation. Now, unfortunately, it's going to take forever for this dummy to build up enough stacks to actually hurt me. So you're just going to have to take my word for it. When I start the fight, I pop Dancing Rune Weapon, and then Marrow Rend. That way it gives me my 10 stacks of Bone Shield right at the very beginning of the fight. Blood Boil, that way you get your 3 stacks of Blood Plague. That way you just, get a lot of damage in going on. You're going to drop your D&D, and begin building Runic Power with Hard Strike. Now, once I get down to 7 stacks of Bone Shield, I Marrow Rend again, because it generates 3 stacks. That way I can keep as close to 10 stacks as possible throughout the whole fight. Just making sure my health stays as high as it can. What you want to do, I'll try to time this for the next one, is when you know you're going to take big, predictable damage, that's when you want to Death Strike right after, so that way the healers don't freak out when they see your health spike. You can kind of just get that health right back. Like so. Now, to be fair, like I said, it's still not really hitting me very hard. A little bit too geared for this right now to make this guide, but another great synergy if you know you're going to take a shit ton of damage coming up really soon, but you're not super good on Runic Power, and you know you're going to have to pop Vampiric Blood anyway. I tend to just save Blood Drinker for that if I know there's predictable damage, because it heals for so much. It's really ridiculous. It also does a good amount of damage too. So if you're not in a situation where you're in any danger of dying, I would pop Blood Drinker on cooldown, just for the sake of getting that damage out there. Same thing with Consumption. It's another nice heal if you know you're about to take predictable damage, but if you know you're not in any danger of dying, you can just use it on cooldown, honestly. Get a little bit of healing, do a little bit of damage, it's nothing special. Otherwise, just pop a Blood Boil on cooldown, doesn't cost anything. Keep Hard Striking as much as you can to keep your Runic Power up. Death Strike every time you take a hit, if you can, especially a bigger hit. Smaller hits, you can wait. Obviously, you're not really getting too hard like that. But try to time it so that you Death Strike right after you get hit, so the healers may not even notice that you took like a big chunk of damage, just to make sure that they're not freaking out. They'll love you, trust me. Otherwise, that's pretty much all you need to know. Obviously, you want to rotate your cooldowns. You never want to know that you're about to take some big damage and then just freak out and pop everything and start healing like mad. Because then the next time you're going to take big damage, you're not going to have anything and you're going to be in trouble. So just make sure to stagger them. If you know some moderate damage is coming, you don't really need to pop Vampiric Blood for it. You just pop an Icebound Fortitude. If you know you're about to take a lot of damage, just pop a Vampiric Blood. Make sure your bone stacks are good, and Death Strike as soon as you get hit, and the healers will keep you up from there. If you know there's predictable magic damage coming, just pop Anti-Magic Shell for it. I mean, it blocks 1.4 million damage. So odds are, is if it's a smaller magic ability, there's no way it's going to damage you if you pop that. So if you know it's magic, just pop that. Otherwise, if you're in any AoE fights, make sure you're using Gorfine's Grasp to make a death ball for the AoE. Just get everything killed a lot faster. Obviously, you want to be gripping as a Blood DK. That's kind of what you're there for in general. So if you see that there's like a mage ad off in the corner doing its own thing, then make sure you grip that in and just use your utility to your advantage. You're a Blood DK, that's kind of what you're good for, to be honest. Otherwise, I believe that's all we need to talk about. At some point, I will upload a video of me fighting normal Croesus as Blood DK, just to show you as an example of how it would look in a real fight. I will post the link in the description to that when it's up. Otherwise, thanks for watching. This has been Rune's shitty but better than nothing guides. Enjoy yourself.